2018 was a different year for Dragon Ball Super. With the series going off air after the conclusion of the Tournament of Power, Dragon Ball fans were mixed when it came to the future of the franchise. But when you analyze all of the ups and downs, 2018 was an extremely successful year for the franchise. In fact, in this video today, we will cover the most impactful things that happened to Dragon Ball Super in 2018, and why it's probably the best year of Dragon Ball Super today. So to begin, we must first start with the Tournament of Power, and to be specific, it is the fight between Vegeta and Topo. Now, the Tournament of Power has had a ton of fights. The first fight between Goku and Jiren was epic, and the fight between Goku, Kale, Caulifla, and Kefla were also fun fights as well. But the Vegeta vs Topo fight was something completely different. With Goku always being in the limelight of Dragon Ball, many Dragon Ball fans have demanded that Vegeta get his shine in a fight. And to be specific, Vegeta needed to beat someone that was very impressive. And defeating arguably the second strongest character in the Tournament of Power not on Universe 7 in Topo definitely gives Dragon Ball fans and Vegeta fans something to remember. In addition to this, not only did Vegeta attain a new version of the Super Saiyan Blue, which is referred to as Super Saiyan Blue Evolution, but he used a throwback technique against Topo that caught fans off guard. By utilizing the final explosion technique that was done against Majin Buu in Dragon Ball Z, this accomplished two completely different things. It made the fight feel uncomfortable for the fans that were watching, and by Vegeta actually surviving, he earned a huge amount of tough guy points for being strong enough to survive such a powerful suicide attack. And just like Vegeta, Topo shocked himself by revealing himself as a god of destruction in training and mopped the floor with Frieza and Android 17 to hype up the Vegeta-Topo fight. So although Vegeta eventually lost to Jiren afterwards, his impact in the Tournament of Power was great enough to be one of the biggest highlights of 2018. But as we move on to another major highlight, we have the Universe 6 Saiyans in the Dragon Ball Super Manga. Now this is much more subjective, but one could argue that the writing for the Universe 6 Saiyans was much better in the manga as compared to the anime. We could do a whole video breaking down each of the 4 Saiyans including Kefla, but here are some key reasons. In terms of Kaba, he is much more confident in his abilities, went out like a champ to help Kale and Caulifla, and had much greater control over his powers in the manga adaptation. In terms of Kale, she was much more mysterious, was much more self-aware of her own fighting potential, and was more savage in the manga when she actually transformed into her legendary Super Saiyan Berserk state. And in addition to this, when you also look at Kale, because her legendary form was much more berserk in the manga and had a weakness, it gave her power scaling much more realism in the manga as compared to the anime. And as far as Caulifla goes, while she didn't have the same relationship with Goku in the anime, we learned much more about her in the Saiyan Punks, and we are also able to see Caulifla adapt in battle and fight with Frieza in a completely different way. And I do think having the Frieza versus Caulifla fight in the manga was way more entertaining than many of the fights in the Tournament of Power, because we get to see that dynamic of Frieza versus the Saiyans in a much more intense atmosphere than seeing Frieza just mopping the floor with Kaba in the anime. And as far as Kefla is concerned, the one issue that a lot of Dragon Ball fans had with her is the fact that Kefla was scaled down to Gohan's power in the manga, where they pretty much had a stalemate and a draw. But in the other hand, because Kefla lost to Gohan, this in terms of writing gave Gohan much more relevance in the manga adaptation, as opposed to comparing it to the anime where Gohan knocked out Dispo. So from a balanced storytelling point of view, the Universe 6 Saiyans were a huge highlight of 2018 when you look at the Dragon Ball Super manga. But one of the biggest shocks of Dragon Ball Super in 2018 would have to be Android 17 and his major sacrifice. Now, when Android 17 was originally introduced to Dragon Ball Super in 2017, most fans expected 17 to be stronger, but nowhere near the power that he demonstrated in the Tournament of Power. And to be honest, it's quite shocking how impactful he was in the Tournament of Power's outcome itself. After Android 18 sacrificed herself for 17 to continue fighting at the end of 2017, we all saw that 17 was a key reason as to why Annie Raza was defeated, and when the battle against Jiren came around, no one could have expected that 17 would actually die in combat, sacrificing himself to save Goku and Vegeta. But the bigger shock of all is that 17 didn't die, survived till the very end, and is arguably the biggest reason why Universe 7 won the Tournament of Power. Now, in terms of character development, this version of 17 isn't that different from the original 17 from Dragon Ball Z. I mean, he does have kids, is more willing to team up with teammates, and made an unselfish wish, but most of his development happened off screen when he wasn't a part of the franchise. We didn't see 17 slowly evolve into another character the same way we did for Android 18 or other villains that became heroes in Dragon Ball, and because of this, it made his character way more surprising than anyone else on the Universe 7 team when he did what he actually did. So Android 17's sacrifice, his return, and his impact make him one of the biggest highlights of 2018. But as we climb up to number 2 on our list, we have the Dragon Ball Super Broly hype. Now, we all know the impact of Broly. Broly is a very controversial character. Many fans hate him, and many fans love him. At first, when it was revealed that there was a movie, people jokingly speculated that it was Broly, and we were all shocked to see that when it actually was Broly, the Dragon Ball community was taken by storm. But from all of the evidence of what has happened in the film, 2018 has had a major success with the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, and while I personally haven't seen the movie as of this recording, every single trailer that was released for that film was the definition of hype. In addition, while the film does have major changes to Dragon Ball history, the few people that I have spoken to that have seen the film have had very little issue with the changes after watching the full film. In fact, these friends have said that many of the changes to Broly in history were actually done for the better. And when you consider what this film can do for the Dragon Ball franchise, whether you love or hate Broly, this was definitely one of the biggest highlights of Dragon Ball this year. And last but not least, the biggest highlight of all has to be the final battle between Goku and Jiren. Not only did Goku unlock his Danny Phantom Ghost powers, but the show hyped up this fight in the show itself. With the first Goku and Jiren fight being as awesome as it was, the rematch could only be better. And while the mastered Ultra Instinct Goku got the edge, it eventually burnt out against Jiren and Goku wasn't able to get the win. And Goku required the assistance of Frieza and Android 17 to actually take Jiren down, along with the energy that he had to absorb from Vegeta before he lost. And almost every Dragon Ball fan on the planet would not have expected 17 and Frieza to help Goku win a major battle, but it did. And this titanic clash and end to Dragon Ball Super's 2018 run made the top of the list. But most importantly, because Super didn't have a long run in 2018, most of the episodes that aired were some of its best episodes, and when you combine this with good manga chapters and a successful movie, this is by far the best Dragon Ball Super year to date. But we always have to have two sides of the story, guys, and while there were definitely a lot of good things about the ending of Dragon Ball Super, there were a lot of faults with it too. But the one thing that I feel like makes the franchise significantly greater is that one thing Dragon Ball has done very well with Dragon Ball Super from 2018 is it's definitely expanded the universe even more, which I think creates a lot of potential for storytelling. Now, the potential for storytelling does not necessarily mean that the storytelling is actually going to improve, but with Broly coming into the Dragon Ball universe along with Frieza also making a return, in addition to also having 12 different universes that have been expanded upon in depth, or at least to a degree within the Tournament of Power, now you have the groundwork for an even more massive story if Dragon Ball Super were to return. And when you think about it like that, regardless of whether or not you like the Dragon Ball Super ending, the storytelling potential has now expanded significantly more because of the type of ending that it had. And I definitely think that we can see things like going into Universe 6, going into Universe 2, how other characters can fit into the Dragon Ball Super story, and much more potential when it comes to the future of this franchise. And we can definitely agree to disagree that even if you did not like the Disney happy-go-lucky ending where every single character was wished back, this is by far allowing Dragon Ball Super to set the seeds for future plotlines that can actually make the show significantly better, and with a much better budget this time that they're going to be getting from the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie, along with all of the other stuff that Dragon Ball makes, the franchise looks healthy moving forward. And I wish all of you guys a happy new year. And if you enjoyed this video, check out What If Goku Trained Kale and Cauliflower to give a hypothetical take on Universe 6, in addition to also looking at Bulma's Bizarre Adventure, which is a Halloween take, along with who is smarter between Bulma and Dr. Gero. And until next time, stay cool and stay safe, my friends.